right, guys, you ready for the thing?
Yes.
How's this look?
I think this conveys.
It looks what normal looks now.
And interest.
I think this is kind of. Oh, you know what? No, we can see Sarah's legs, and we can't see her. I'm just gonna put it back.
Okay, I mean, I guess
sorry,
if you want your filmography to be
integrity.
weak.
The artistic integrity is gone, but I think
we should do the whole review in a Dutch angle.
You're gonna need to switch
Well,
angles.
here,
every
I can do that for you. Just do
frequently,
this.
Oh.
Yeah, if you just
Perfect.
Yeah, nailed
Everything can be Dutch now. I didn't realize.
Oh, God. What was my heavy Dutch angel? Svardtha or whatever? Svard. That was like Sven.
There we go. Much better.
Yeah, hey, what up? It's your boys and Sarah, the D-pad.
What?
Well, you're not a boy. I was trying to not gender
Can't you
shame
be
you.
one of the boys? Isn't that like a thing?
Early on, I said a no girls allowed rule.
It's
so
Lady Sarah and the D-Padders 3 or something.
Yeah, it's the D-pad 3 and Lady Sarah. That's what it is.
The D-pad 3.
Welcome,
Lady Sarah.
welcome to another episode of movie. I had to remember what the fucking name of our show was. Movie Nights at the Round Table.
Yeah.
Which is a name you didn't need to give it, but now we're bound to this fucking table for the rest of our lives.
It's not even a round. It's a round
It's
dead
round-ish.
table. It's
It's
round dead.
round.
It's rounder than many
It's not
tables.
circular,
round.
but it is round. Yes, we had
We've
this
gone
discussion
through this.
before.
It's
Hold on.
curved.
Hold on. Let's
It's
give the people
curved.
what they came for, which was 4 people bickering about the nature of unimportant things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Cool.
so this table.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about a
You
movie we all
can't say that only circles are round. Other things are round.
Are they? I thought round
Yes.
implied circular.
No,
the curved
they're-
didn't have
You know
It's
who's
like-
round?
It's like
heavenly
rectangular
Dutch
and, you
angel.
know, parallelogram. Like, you're not necessarily...
Well,
Okay,
there's something I
anyway.
think we can all agree on, and that's a good chunk of this movie that we all have a deep, middling-ish opinion of.
Yes, it's very movie.
It sure
John,
is.
you
Yeah.
saw
Everybody
this
looks
movie for
fake.
the first
I
time.
did. This was my first time seeing Thor, and I didn't
So
not
summarize
like it.
that.
Can you run us through?
Can you
plot
give
of
us the
Thor?
plot?
A lot of
movie?
the plot, Thor,
Yeah.
and then Natalie Portman, but then Thor goes away.
Right.
Hold on.
all right,
Hold
yeah.
on. Hold on. Loki becomes king for some reason.
Nailing it.
And then he becomes adopted, which is crazy. And then Odin goes to sleep, but then Odin wakes up and the hammer comes back to Thor.
Yup.
And then Thor smash. And
That's
then Natalie Portman wants to find Thor.
I feel like this is a terrible description.
No, that's about
It's
accurate.
actually, I think I hit all the major beats.
Those are all the parts that matter.
Missed some details.
Yeah,
but
like
I mean,
Bill
that's gotta-
Skarsgård.
Yeah. Skarsgård.
I thought that was Stellan
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård is it.
Whatever.
Oh.
Sorry, Pennywise.
I heard you say Skarsgård early in the
God,
film.
Put it in your pocket.
I heard you say...
Keep it in your
Yeah.
pants, Sarah.
I heard you say Skarsgård earlier in the film, and then my brain was just like, must be Bill, and
No,
kept saying that for
no.
the
Yeah, what's
whole
his
movie.
name?
So thank you for correcting me now.
What happens
Oh,
if
yeah.
I Google old Skarsgård?
I started the movie by saying
Probably a
Stellan
graveyard.
Skarsgård.
Stellan?
Yeah, and
Stellan.
I just heard Skarsgård, and I was like, Bill Skarsgård. That's who it is.
His name's Stellan?
Stellan.
That's the name.
Stella N.
Yeah, like Sven.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill's the weird-looking one.
Bill's the one whose eyes go
Oh,
that
that's
away.
Stellan. How about that, huh?
I don't know if they're related.
Oh, wow, Bill looks like a serial killer.
That looks damn-
Yeah, that's
I
why
kinda
it's
like Bill better.
Pennywise.
Yeah.
That's exactly the right casting. then.
Gustav.
Why don't we- all right.
Skarsgård.
Okay. so-
Before we
There's
get
a
too
lot
deep
of
into
Skarsgård,
Thor,
and
there are.
Skarsgård.
It's probably a pretty common
There's
name.
more Moonies.
They're all No, the whole family's a bunch of actors.
Oh, is it? Yeah. All right. I mean,
there
that's
are
a common
8,
thing,
and they're
though.
all actors.
They
that's
are.
that's a fairly common thing, though. Is like
yeah,
like
there's-
film families, you know,
Yeah.
bear
Everybody
film
does it,
families,
so,
if you will.
like the
Filmalies?
Coppolas, who literally can't stop having babies that change their names. So,
Name one who's not Nick Cage.
Jason Schwartzman.
He was a Coppola?
He's a Coppola.
Huh.
Yep.
You
All right.
might say that there's so many. There's a cornucopula.
Oh, I like that.
All right. That's good.
You've also, I mean,
Okay.
You're going to get a gentle
Different
face
set-
touch later.
different set, but you have the same thing
And
with.
now?
Yeah, now as well.
and
You have like a weird reversal. You would think that out of Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen, and Emilio Estevez, that Emilio Estevez was the one who decided to change his last name. But no, Martin Sheen's last name was Estevez, and he changed it, and Charlie followed suit.
Wow.
Emilio
That
Estevez
seems
is still
random.
using his original name. He's the
Good
only one
for
of the three.
What
Emilio.
does this have to do with Thor the movie
I'll tell you
from
what, though,
2011?
One of the three of them is a lot less famous than the other, so maybe he made the wrong choice.
I don't know, man.
Come on, Emilio.
Emilio Estevez
Maybe
was
you
in
don't want to
Mighty
be
Ducks.
associated with
With
And
Charlie Sheen and
so-
The West Wing.
Am I crazy? Was Emilio Estevez in The Breakfast Club?
Thor.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, he was the
All right,
jock.
so Ben wants
Was
to talk about Thor so we can go to bed.
Before we talk
I
about
would
Thor,
agree with Ben.
before we talk about Thor, we should talk briefly about the brief Marvel one-shot that we watched to start this.
Okay.
The Consultant.
I
We
didn't
already
pay
did that.
attention to
Remember
anything.
or understand or pay attention
Yeah,
to.
I found out that they called Tony Stark the Consultant, and I was like, okay.
That's honestly. So the idea of the Consultant, it's a one-shot that comes with the DVD and the Blu-ray of Thor.
Oh yeah, and,
and
Abomination is not part of.
The Abomination ain't no part of no Avengers.
Yeah, one guy,
There's something there.
bald man, was like, let's make the really bad guy one of ours.
Yeah.
And it was like, nah.
It sounds like the idea was
Nice.
it was less the idea of the higher ups of S.H.I.E.L.D. and more the idea of
It's
the U.S.
fascinating.
military.
Yeah.
That was like, well, he's a military asset. We should make Emil Blonsky.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's in a military asshole.
And then Colton's like, no, I'm
Oh.
security level octopus.
Yeah,
I'm way
blurb.
better than you.
Security level.
Yeah.
security level. I don't even have to tell you my security level. I'm so
Yeah.
secure.
Oh yeah.
But
They get into that a little bit in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So
even.
honestly, that short was stupid. It didn't make sense. You needed a lot
It
of
was a
context to get the
retcon.
meaning of it. You
Well,
needed to.
it was just
like I just
their-
watched the Hulk movie they referenced 2 weeks ago.
I like how
and
you
I
keep touching my back.
didn't remember it. Well, I feel like I just.
No, I like it.
I feel like whenever I
Don't
cut you off,
stop.
I feel guilty. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh hey buddy,
I,
I'm still gonna cut you off. I'm gonna rub your back.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to
So
fill
it
in a
hurts
lot of
less.
blanks. The idea was basically just that, like,
It's just
it-
so there's no abomination, and it's fine.
obviously, so the idea was they were fixing a plot hole that they accidentally left. Again, we talked during the Incredible Hulk that they were trying to lead into a potential Iron Man versus Hulk battle for the second Iron Man movie, and then they got the green light for all the Avengers stuff, and they had to retcon stuff.
Yeah.
That's why Bruce Banner is actually taking control of his power, and that's not the Hulk breaking out. Similarly, the whole idea was Tony Stark is going to General Ross to be like, hey, we're going to team up to take down the Hulk.
Right.
But now they're like, oh, we need to fix that because that doesn't make sense now.
Yeah.
Right. So Thor.
Yeah.
So Thor is a story about a handsome man.
It's a Thory, you might say.
Like, is that like a theory in a story? Yeah, that wasn't even a pun. That wasn't even.
Well, you're also the our resident authority on Norse mythology.
Oh, thank you.
So I think
And you're the Loki of Norse mythology.
You know what? I'm
I-
good. I'm good with this review.
I
I'm just-
allocate all the
We
funds
did
of the various projects that we do.
You
Is
do
that-
alloki all the funds.
There you go.
You guys
And you're
are
the
destroying this review.
He is the Goldar.
Oh man,
No
Goldar
pun.
was my favorite Norse myth
Come
god.
back. Is that gonna be a thing? Someone's got to get up and leave
Every
very
time
early.
John or Ray
Yeah,
makes a
except
joke.
that time there's no mirror to
Yeah, that was my favorite thing because I didn't know that was going to show. But so when we did Iron Man 2 at the very beginning, I made a dumb joke about wanting to wear a Devo shirt for Whip It Good, and I thought that'd be really good to have a shirt from the band that sang Whip It.
I'm fucking dumb.
And Ben gets up and walks over there. He's
But
like, "Am
like-
I off camera?" And I'm like,
I don't think you're out of shot.
But you can see the reflection in that
I
mirror.
can only
Yep.
go this far in the mirror.
And you just see him standing,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
the back of Ben
Just my
standing
ass.
still. It made it so
Another
much
thing
better.
I would have covered with emojis, given the need.
Oh no, everyone's got to see that.
Yeah.
Just like they saw Thor's ass.
Yeah, I mean,
Cheek,
But we
upper,
didn't
like northeast
bend
cheek.
see that.
it's
No.
a rare
Tiniest
sighting,
bit.
so I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
to them.
the
I'll give it
bend
to
butt?
the people. Yeah.
You
Just
saw
saying,
more
if
of
they
like
had, like,
the
a
upper
female
junk
lingerie
region of
model.
him than you
Yeah,
see
what do you
of his
call those?
top
Like little
ass.
weird.
The little
The V muscle
V
area?
muscle,
The
I
little
guess,
crease.
yeah.
That's
Nice.
a fake muscle.
Yeah.
That's not
They
real.
added that after
Good.
the fact.
No,
People
those
didn't have
are
that muscle
real.
until 1998.
Yeah.
That's brand new.
Those are real. You just have to be
Oh,
in
man.
good shape and have low body fat.
I don't understand
Yeah.
the words you're saying.
Those words mean fake.
Yeah.
That's what the definition.
Hey,
Yeah.
my body age is
Anyway.
36 right now.
Oh, sorry.
I've been sleeping poorly, abusing drugs, and not eating very often. So
Fuck
I'm
you,
doing
drugs.
well. Yeah, that's right. How dare you do that to me and my family? Too real? Okay. Hello.
What's
Okay.
okay? Let's
So-
let's start with the shakedown, the rundown, the check marks.
Oh, we gonna just right away open with it? I feel like we can
right away.
let's do
Oh
20
my
minutes.
God, yes.
Let's
Can we
let's
just
talk
move
about the movie in
on?
general. Let's talk about the movie in general first before we get into the chat. We've barely even acknowledged the fucking movie, like the fact that it's a Dutch
Well,
angle
then let's
porno.
It's not very well done. The costumes look really fake. It's like a reject episode of Power Rangers mixed with a reject episode of Game of Thrones.
This is the best kind of review, glossing over any of the discussable points.
I am
It's
hitting
not
in
glossing
less than a
over
second.
It's detailed. It's just fast.
The armor looks plastic and fake. That's really all there is to be said
Gold
about
Star
it.
was at the top of this game.
The armor was kind of a weird. The armor, the sets, the hair, the beard on Thor looked so bad.
I think
it was heavy makeuping.
It looked like someone shook a bunch of brown sugar cinnamon on his face.
I think they did a bunch of makeuping stuff on them.
I don't know why.
So I think
Iron Man.
Costuming.
They're like, let's make Iron Man, but let's not make it too comic booky. Let's make it kind of.
Oh, they wanted to go hardcore into the comic booky. I'd argue the costume looked identical to the one that's in the Thor comic.
Yeah. So what were you gonna say, Ben?
No, that's what I'm saying. In Iron Man, they made it not too comic booky. Yeah. I don't know why they didn't stick to that. And then in Thor, instead they were like, no, let's literally make this like a rip it right out of the comic book. Thor has to be like bright yellow blonde beard and everything.
That cape is the reddest color I've ever seen in a movie.
Fucking weirdly blue eyes. Like he can't just be a person. He's got to be that comic book.
These guys are clearly jealous that they don't have deep, weirdly blue eyes and beautiful golden hair.
It's like he was colored in with a highlighter in post.
Like
someone just went blue, yellow.
Like, if you ever go on Instagram and use the filter that's like, I forget what it's called. It's like structure. It just adds contrast, sharpness, and a little bit of saturation. And if you abuse that knob, you look like this movie. And I think that's what it is.
The filter I use for a lot of my art is Moon.
Is Moon?
Hey,
that's perfect. Because that's who you are.
Yeah.
It seems like in
just
general,
makes good contrast between the blacks and whites.
Where you're from?
Whoa, Ben! Oh my God!
Just go to my. Sorry.
Oh my God!
Put a man on the. Okay, it's Instagram.com/waxingfish.
Yeah.
The costumes were like super plasticky, like to the point where you could tell some stuff
metal. They looked so fake.
Yeah, it looked like Halloween outlet grade metal.
Yeah, the colors were too bright. The golds and silvers that were trying to like show Asgard's extravagance were just fake looking.
The Rainbow Bridge had too many colors.
The Rainbow Bridge looked like I remember Rainbow Bridges looking in my brain.
I thought it looked pretty good. I thought that part looked fine, but the backgrounds that were clearly paintings, it was like
really
you
bad
should have
green
done
screen.
some kind of animation on it to have something moving because
the
it just
chroma
looked
key
so static.
More than half of the green screen was like really bad.
You could in one of the very last shots of the movie, we called it out. You can see he's walking past a bunch of podiums, and you can see the edge.
Yeah,
like there's this like little
crisp
green that's like jittering because frame to frame they're not getting at the same.
Yeah. If the rest of the movie was great, I would not mind those details. Like they're trying to do something very ambitious.
A really good movie with a couple like pieces of like, all right, you came close, but this is one where like
we know they're not on fucking
Tatooine,
Asgard,
right?
Yeah,
close.
At no point did I feel absorbed into this movie or like felt like I was.
Do you
in
think
a different...
that could be a function of recording a podcast while doing it?
No, it's just not great.
That's possible.
I mean, it's the fourth one we've done now, but
I guess that's true. You know how it should feel.
Sometimes we'll be doing a thing, and I'm like, I need to pay attention, like see what's happening. At no point in this movie did I give a fuck what was happening.
It's a lot like it's a lot like Iron Man 2 in that regard, where like you just kind of start. Like you just drift.
Yeah,
there's so little happening sometimes where you're just kind of like,
and it might be better if I was like in a theater watching it, but like. I feel like that's just because I'm forced to have the lights and sound stuff all.
Yeah, I don't remember it being this bad, but at the same time, I think part of that was like I saw it in the theater. It was the first time seeing it, and it was one of the early movies, so it was still more exciting.
I think it was just still setting. This movie set up so much shit, right? It set up Loki's duality. It set up the Tesseract. It set up the weird dynamic between Loki, Thor, and Odin. It set up S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson.
Portman's just so bad and boring.
Well, I mean, that's
the writing.
Their writing
was pretty bad for her.
I feel like we say this a lot about Natalie Portman.
She's a good actor. And sometimes,
good actor,
sometimes I think she just gets bad parts. Or
bad, for sure.
It just her character felt weird, and like a lot of the weird interactions they had, like he wasn't good in them either. Like
there's a problem that we're gonna come back to later on because she comes off not terribly immature exactly, but a little like.
She's meant to be hot-headed, but they're just not. They were really inconsistent with the way they did it. And there was a scene
in the second movie. They make her come off like a snooty teenager.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Horrendous. This one isn't that bad.
There was the scene where like Odin like barks at Loki when they're Like some of the edits.
Wait, who's that politician that like lost his career?
Howard Dean.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Yeah.
We're going to Asgard, then to Vanaheim, then Nornheim.
I work with a bunch of people who were basically his web guys.
Oh, no.
And then they were like, well, you guys want to start a company? That's over.
That had to be the most look. Compare that to nowadays, and it seems like such an innocent little reason to drop out of a campaign.
I know at the time.
Enthusiasm.
At the time, I was like, what did he do wrong?
That guy.
Like, what the hell?
Well,
because he was too excitable.
Yeah, perhaps that was I don't know, evil political machinations reinforcing that opinion. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
but I think
some of the yelp that he had in the movie.
Some of the acting wasn't as good as it could have been with the talent that's there, but also I think some of the editing actually like edited together different performances that made it feel super weird.
Possible.
Yeah.
I will say,
I think that's where the bark came from. He's like, Thor, I'm mad at you.
Thor,
you will be banished
That's what
now.
I miss a lot in movies. Is like where editing could help. You know, like I don't quite get I don't understand the process, so like I don't see where it could be done better or worse. You know what I mean?
If he stayed at that intensity with Thor for the rest of that, like he flips out at Loki and then he turns back and he's still like frothing with anger, and he starts to like build it back down to this like white hot rage where he's just kind of like, give me your fucking hammer.
Wait, what's that? Apparently Howard Dean was his stunt double. So
that's
why this happened.
Not Lucy Liu? Not Lucy Liu?
Lucy Liu was busy holding the light.
She was a TD. Yeah, she made a touchdown.
Don't talk about Lucy Liu's TDs on this channel, okay? We have to have some standards.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I will say Anthony Hopkins as Odin and...
Who is not Malcolm McDowell.
No.
They're different.
They are definitely different.
Who is that?
Malcolm McDowell? He's from A Clockwork Orange.
But he's old now and he's a creepy actor.
He's old. If you watched
he
Heroes...
does a lot of Anthony Hopkins' type parts.
Did you watch Heroes when that was on TV?
No.
Oh, he was Mr. Linderman. He was a really good character on that one.
I haven't seen Heroes. I haven't seen Clockwork Orange.
He was Mr. Linderman,
Wow, how have you not seen A Clockwork Orange?
I just haven't got
I
around
haven't
to
seen
it.
A Clockwork
You're a
Orange
sad boy
either.
who likes
That
weird
surprised
movies.
me.
Yeah,
Well,
watch that together.
It's really
our favorite thing already.
As a
my
weird
favorite
cinema
movie,
buff,
and I haven't seen it yet.
and a literature buff, I'm shocked that neither of you have seen that movie.
I wouldn't call myself a literature
It's not
buff.
an easy...
If I can pan the camera to the literal
Bookshelf full.
Okay,
hundreds
no,
of
but
books.
that is completely different.
I mean, it's different. These are pulp things. They're not like classic works of literature, but like, I'm sure they're
yes,
so
I read
good.
a large amount of fantasy.
Okay,
it's
all right,
very
fair.
different from being a literature buff.
Fanfic-tasy.
But
I've never even read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, much
should
less
watch
the
Clockwork
original.
Yeah, we should watch that.
really should watch-
Anthony
we should watch
Hopkins-
together. I'm not proud that I haven't seen it.
Anthony Hopkins, bad
We'll
editing
forgive you.
aside, excellent acting, I think, across this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot.
Odin was fine.
Hiddleston.
Hiddleston. Tom
Hiddleston
Hiddleston. I was
was
just trying to
good.
think, who the fuck is this?
He was
He
pretty
had
good,
really
though,
good
like,
acting.
considering it's his first real, I think, go around in the part, right?
Yeah.
Oh, as Loki? Yeah.
It's Loki's debut, right?
Yes.
And he did great with it for what
Loki
it is.
as a character is really well done in this.
Yeah, and
Every time you think you have his plan down, he adds another layer to it, and you're just kind of like, oh, fuck, this whole thing was another trick.
Yeah, I feel like he was better in some of the later movies, but I mean, it's,
They nailed him down
But they
better.
set him up,
right,
they set him up
you're
good
doing
and,
it more.
and I think he did really well with what he was given. In
Oh,
this
yes.
movie.
Right,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to say like, oh, you've had 4 movies practice at it and you're better at it. Like, well,
it's
that's
tough because
how
I'm a
it
huge
works.
nerd, and I wanted to see them go a little deeper into the characters. Like Odin's pretty one-dimensional.
They do a little more.
But
later.
everyone's pretty
movies-
one-dimensional.
As the movies
actually.
go on, they do a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
Except, I guess that's kind of a lie. They get into it in Ragnarok. Dark World.
I know. I'm excited to see Dark World because apparently it's garbage.
Oh,
Yay.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Ragnarok 3
a lot
times.
of people have the
Yeah.
same opinion of the first Thor movie. To be fair,
That it's
garbage.
It's definitely not garbage. It's just could be a lot better.
It's trying, but like it's the the problem is the directing is just bad.
Yeah.
Movie wide, the directing is bad because the camera work is bad, and that's coming down to the director.
The camera work's so
ultimately.
confusing.
The acting is really bizarre and stilted and was not directed well to get around edits. There were edits that were clearly like post-production, like, oh, fuck, we need a thing here, we need a thing here. And they didn't think about it. Seriously, I feel like as far as the Dutch angles go, we need like a little Benny Hill montage of just how bad some of these shots are.
only we had an editing rig.
Do you think you can get...
All you would need to do is fast forward the movie.
A montage where like the screen spins all the way around.
There were a couple shots that did that on their own.
Yeah.
Where you just start like this, and all of a sudden the camera's like,
you fly like upside down, but I want it for the screen to literally spin around.
I would say that aesthetically, I didn't enjoy the weird angle choices in the cinematography, but I don't actually think it detracted from the movie that much, other than an aesthetic way.
There
like
were
it didn't distract me from the
scenes.
plot.
There were definitely some, like the very first scene with the storm chasing when it was so frequent. I was like, wow, and maybe that's just because we were looking.
Right, like I don't think I had any
at the start
more of a struggle
like
understanding that scene because of the camera.
I mentioned
work.
it at the start of the movie, and it was literally less than 10 seconds after I mentioned, by the way, lots of Dutch angles. Boom, first Dutch angle. Boom, opposite side Dutch angle.
Yeah. So I noticed it was like
it cuts back
in
and forth.
Asgard.
Like,
in Asgard, it was a lot more flat and stable.
Yes,
and
they
then
did
back
flat
on
it there.
Earth, it was a lot more angly.
I
almost
think-
seems like they intended.
Right, I feel like they were trying to do a thing with it.
I think they were trying to make the.
Like,
I think they were
Earth
trying
is
to make
more gritty and real.
honestly, I think you're on the right track. I think Asgard is supposed to be presented as literally Shakespearean and flat and like amber colored and olden timey, and then everything on Earth is all tilted in blue, tons of blue hues.
Yeah.
And
There was a lot of blue.
Who directed this again?
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, he was he's a big Marvel Comics illustrator, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know why you would care about Shakespeare. It's a joke. He's a famous Shakespearean actor. Okay. Did you guys not get it?
I'm just gonna stare at you silently
went
now.
a real long way.
Super.
I think that was kind of breezy outside, so we all stopped and it was just like...
I literally thought, like, am I having a stroke? Is everyone else having a stroke?
I think
follows our standard joke pattern. You guys should have been prepared for that.
I think the shots on Earth that were hyper Dutch angled were meant to imitate comic book panels that did the same thing. It's the
I guess
same
they do
fucking
that.
problem as Hulk 2003, where they decided, oh, comic book movie, I got this, and tries to and that's where the costume problem comes from too. They were trying so hard.
I would agree definitely with the costumes.
If they keep
It
doing
looks
that,
so fake.
That's not like translating. Like I'm not getting the feeling of comic book panels by seeing stupid angles like that.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
this is the
It could be the intent, but it failed. If
this
that's
is
what
the
they were doing.
worst movie in that I can remember of the entire MCU in terms of the Dutch angles. Like strong enough that without having watched it again in recent memory, I was able to before we started go, oh yeah, by the way, watch out for that. And it was so much worse than I remembered for that. Like we joked about it, and all of a sudden we'd just be in the middle of the thing and just be like Dutch, Dutch, Dutch. Like it was endless.
Sorry, I'm just messing with Z.
Yeah, no,
she's
you're
cute. I'm looking at her.
You're right, but again,
She's
like
adorable.
it's a bummer aesthetically, but so are the garish costumes, so is the cringy acting. But like, I think the core movie actually could have used a little more. Like everything seems just a little shallow. Nothing goes really deep.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty basic.
I mean, even Loki, as complex as he is, his motivations aren't really explored. He kind of bounces back and forth a little bit.
He seems to bounce back and forth between I want to be seen as equal to Thor and
I want Daddy to love me.
Yeah, he wants to be equal, and he feels the only way to do that is if he proves that he can be a good king by offing the frost giants.
Even though Odin literally says, Thor, don't off the frost giants in like the first scene.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. It was 1,000 years ago. It wasn't that long.
Oh, I guess, but like nothing looks different after that 900 years passed, so it didn't really...
I didn't get any sense of time passing at all throughout the entire movie.
Well, no, I'm talking when they were
kids. It all
kids.
could have taken place on the same fucking day.
Actually, that wasn't 1,000 years ago, because 1,000 years ago, Loki was a baby. Loki is Laufey's son. Bump, bump, bump.
All right, let's go to the checklist.
Also, in Norse mythology, he's constantly referred to as Loki, son of Laufey, so I'm glad they did that.
Actually, I guess before as we're about to jump in, we'll do the list in a second. Oh my God. How close would you say this comes in terms of Norse mythology? Like the beats that it hits, the beats that it misses?
So, really quick. I think they did the best they kind of could while still being based on the comic book first and being integrated into a larger cinematic universe, right? So, like, Oaken,
do you think
like Heimdall is the Watcher. The sword, I don't know if the sword controls the bridge, but he's the guy in charge of the Bifrost. And, like, Odin has a sordid past about, you know, like, being weird. and get his eye. He lost his eye in battle, but that's not true. That's not true. In truth, in reality,
in the real
world, he gave his eye to get knowledge.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a deliberate trade.
Do you think
he's also supposed to have the 2 ravens? But
that's true. Do you think this movie would have been improved by an 8-legged horse coming out of Tom Hiddleston's vagina?
So it was there. Sleipnir was there in like a flashback scene or something.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a flashback.
It was him showing up to save the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you, I've been wanting to talk about this in the D-pad for a while.
You have briefly. You did during Mega Man X8, I believe.
So the actual Norse mythology origin of Sleipnir, as many of you probably know and are already screaming at the camera, is that Sleipnir exists because he was birthed by Loki when he shapeshifted into the form of a female mare so he could seduce the horse. I can't remember the horse's name, but he's the workman's horse.
That's where they get nightmare from.
It might be.
Yeah, in theory.
Because he's only a mare at night, to fuck a horse. It's gonna Gulenbursti. Nope, that's a dwarf maybe. I can't remember the horse's name.
I'm pretty sure that's a Swedish author.
Could be. But so Loki transforms into a lady horse to seduce away the horse of a worker who's actually a giant and who has a deal with the Asgardians. It says if I can build a wall in like a month or less, you have to give me Freya. And they're like, yeah, sure, nobody can do that. But then he has like this magic fucking horse that's like really good at pulling bricks.
Magic fucking horse.
They're like, shit. He's gonna finish the wall on time. Loki, you dick, like. You got this guy.
You haven't seen a dick yet, and then says Loki's as he opens himself.
Yeah, Jesus.
Whoa.
Even worse.
Sorry, as he opens herself.
Yeah, exactly. His answer to that is to get the horse's dick and solve everyone's problem.
Yeah.
So that's a fun story. What is the horse's name? Okay, I gotta Google this.
Oh my god. We should, if this was broken into chapters, I think I'd refer to this one as Colt 69.
Love it.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm good.
What's the first item on the checklist?
Shall we do the checklist now? All right, here we go.
It's my favorite part because it's structured.
Surprisingly, I was sort of expecting Thor to be a pretty big abuser of the standard tropes, but it really wasn't. We're going to start out with a bunch of them, but then after that, it just kind of fades away. So we got origin backstory.
Yep, because it's the first one.
I mean, not even just because of that, but you see him as a kid. You see the formative years.
Svadlafari. That was the horse.
Gesundheit.
Svadlafari.
Cool. But yeah, you get not just the backstory of Thor, but you get the backstory of Odin and his conquest over the... Well, not conquest, the war with the frost giants where he takes the casket. There's a decent amount of prehistory stuff.
Shameless ripoff of the Game of Thrones Ice King, though. Like,
that is
shameless.
Game of Thrones... I mean, if you're going to have an ice giant or an ice king or something... There's only so many ways you can realistically do that.
It looks like the beta version of the Game of Thrones one.
Yeah.
He could look like he's made out of ice. He could look like he's white and furry.
He could look like, I think of giants as really
like
big, thick guys with beards.
Yeah.
He was twice the size of the other people.
Am I a giant?
Do I have a thing for Ben?
You
already knew. They knew.
All right. After that, we have daddy issues.
Yes.
Yeah. One
of the prime motivator for the central conflict for Thor is that daddy banished him and he's mad and sad.
And the other one is Loki wants daddy to love him.
Yeah, they both are. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but based on Natalie Portman's flirtatious behavior, she likely also has daddy issues.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, her relationship with
I can cast that stone.
I mean, Father Skarsgård.
We know that,
right?
Whore,
Big Daddy Skarsgård.
Yeah. We know that her dad used to work with Stellan Skarsgård's character. It sounds like he's dead. It's unclear, but it sounds like he's probably
dead. I think it's
dead.
heavily implied that he's dead.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up, at least.
Anyone who doesn't show up is dead.
Wasn't he like, he was very brilliant or something like that?
He said that they taught together, past tense, and I think that he said something like
he was brilliant.
Or
whatever. It was all past tense. Is what I'm trying to.
Oh my god, you guys aren't invited anymore. Holy shit! Black best friend.
Heimdall,
yeah. Heimdall kind of.
I don't know if I'd say best friend.
Not really best friend.
He wasn't, but he's in that level of role. Like, he's that level down of supporting character.
I would later in the franchise, he is literally referred to as his best friend.
I was just saying Heimdall.
But in this
my
movie...
closest friend, or like my oldest friend or something in Ragnarok.
But in this movie, he's got his little group of buddies.
His posse,
and like those are his best friends.
Okay, that's true. So maybe he's like fifth best friend.
Yeah.
Or sixth, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like they become friends.
Well, there's the
between
Warriors
this
3,
movie
Sif and
the other
Loki.
one.
I really hope they don't watch this because they're going to be real upset.
So what you're saying is Heimdall isn't Thor's black best friend, but he is Thor's best black friend.
Yeah, and I think that's close enough. I think we're going to let the syntax go on this.
Should we do a tilde on this one?
I think that's half credit.
All right.
Half credit.
At least half credit for sure.
Yeah.
At least.
It's not black best friend in the same way that Rhodey is.
Yeah, Rhodey is like a pretty like. I was gonna say
Only
typical,
in
but
the
that's not the word I
second
mean.
movie,
Is
I'd
black
argue.
best friend gonna count
In
when
the
we do
first
Black
movie,
Panther?
I'd argue it's
I don't know who's his
Will
best
it be
friend.
white best
I don't
friend?
know, but he's black.
We could flip that and make white best friend. I don't know. The
And
world
it's
is changing.
Bilbo.
I'm just gonna stop including the world is changing until it happens because that's like a phase 3 kind of thing.
I don't even know what that means yet. So
Them
It's literally
saying
the
it as a
words. The world.
phrase.
Yeah,
I don't understand what those string of words together means.
Or sounds like.
Getting fired.
Like, isn't the world always changing?
I think this one kind of counts as getting fired.
yeah.
Thor
Alright,
literally
yeah.
gets fired as crown prince.
Yeah, exile.
he got
I'd argue
fired.
exile counts.
Yeah.
as
He
being
had security
fired.
escort him out.
That's true. Yeah.
He's all gone.
All right. I mean,
They didn't
and-
even like give him his things or anything though.
No, he just like.
I mean, his
You'll get
hammer
it in a
was
box
also
later.
tossed
Yeah.
out with him.
Maybe
like,
your favorite cask will be shattered when you open up your cardboard box later.
Aw. Hashtag never forget.
The Stan Lee cameo. This one was
I mean, it's
fucking. This one
there.
was fast as shit. He's just a
drove a truck.
yeah.
Did
He
have
did
a
it
line,
work, and
so
that's
you
it.
know.
Yeah.
He's a truck guy that's trying to pull the
He gets like
Mjölnir
more and
out.
more screen time as they.
Oh, yeah.
I
He
feel
gets
like in
more and
all
more
of
agent.
them, though, it's like 10 seconds or less.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's
but
never.
like- In Iron Man, don't they just like he's just there? He's like, whoa!
He just
It's
turns
like
around.
a shot.
He's
does-
one of the people
he
that's
turns around.
introduced to.
Yeah.
They
It's like hey, there's blah blah blah.
Hugh
He's
Hefner.
like, hey,
and he's just
Hefner.
like,
and then Iron Man 2, he's
well, that's the whole shot.
he's Larry King.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
And
like, it
again,
doesn't,
it's
like, say
only a
anything.
few seconds.
And this
Yeah,
one,
I know.
at least he turns and he's like turns to the camera. He's like,
Yeah, this is his first
did
line.
it work?
That's true. Yeah, this is his first line in a Marvel movie.
Look at my
Or Mar-
face.
MCU
It's
movie.
the face of Stan Lee.
Here's
What a
me with
good
my
line.
aviators. Me and
Yeah.
my New Mexican aviators.
It wasn't great. Also, if it worked, you would be driving very fast.
Yeah, like
You know.
you know it didn't work.
Yeah,
You're not
right.
going anywhere. Anyway,
Personal connection to the villain.
Yeah.
This is about as
Loki,
close as you
yeah.
can get without being the villain
Not-
yourself.
Yeah. Not
or
only
having given birth to the villain. Or
Yeah,
something.
right. Like it's Loki is the troublemaker. He's the brother. But also you could argue the villain is the Frost Giants. But even then, they're related to Loki.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a chain.
they're
It
not
works.
really the main villain though.
No.
Like they're
Right.
just kind of
They're-
used
They
as
are
a
pretender
Loki
villains.
is using them
Yeah.
as the pawn.
They are pretender villains. Loki sets them up to look like the
Right.
villain so that he can
Right.
look like the hero, which, again, the Loki character is pretty
Props to
nicely
Loki.
put together.
Yeah.
I think they do a lot of good stuff with that.
Where he's
Now, again, the plots make sense, but his motivations don't always. That's kind of
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, he's deceitful, but not like a bad. Like he just wants to look good.
Right. He wants to look
Yeah.
like a
He
noble
wants Daddy to love
savior
him.
Right.
king.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3-point landing. I didn't notice any really.
I mean, what about when Thor flew back in when he could actually fly at the very end there and he was fighting the big...
Did he do like the thing on the bottom? I didn't
Thought
notice.
he did what?
I may be wrong, but
Ben's high as balls.
yeah, our
I mean,
our lovely neighbors.
But
Open
it's
way up
pretty
here.
vigorous.
Imagine how much they're wasting.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's.
If all four of us are high as
We're gonna,
balls now.
we're gonna have some fun with the
Yeah.
end of this review.
What were we talking about?
3-point landing. I don't think it
3-point landing.
happened.
I
It
don't-
might
yeah.
have.
I just,
at one point.
I wasn't sure.
can
It
check.
might have happened during that fight. I always
Editing
forget
Rick
to
can-
watch.
I'll be
Editing Rick
honest,
can
I wasn't
verify.
paying close attention to it, but like in other movies, I was
It's
like,
pretty-
3-point landing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Not so much.
And now here we go. You ready for this? Damsel in distress.
Not
really.
No.
I don't think at any point Jane Foster was in real distress. Not once.
They stole her
Like, she was
shit.
upset about yeah,
He's
that.
gonna
But
get her-
like that
he's gonna
but
wasn't.
she
get her
didn't need to
shit
be rescued.
Did
Yeah.
Laser Lord Zed ever come after her?
Not.
I mean,
really.
he kind of came after
sorta,
everyone.
but
It
only
wasn't
in the sense
specifically
that,
her.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Because he was all like, "It's over now."
Likewise,
Go safe.
the
Yeah.
only damsel that was in
he was worried
any
about her.
danger level of distress was Lady Sif, and that was her going, "I'm gonna go fight this death." And Thor's like, "Maybe don't." She goes, "Fine," and leaves. Like he didn't rescue her. He kind of
Yeah.
talked her out of getting killed, but I don't think that counts
He's
either.
like, don't
Talked all of them
don't
out
kill
of getting
yourself.
killed,
Yeah.
We
arguably.
can figure
Yeah.
another way.
I think that one's gonna be a no.
Yeah, no.
Girl fight. No, nothing even resembling.
Do we
water.
know the gender of the destroyer?
Oh, the destroyer could have been a lady.
Miscellaneous.
There was the argument about hitting him with the taser. That's
True.
not even like a fight, but
yeah, that's the only female characters of note in the movie were Jane Foster, Darcy, Frigga, and Lady Sif.
Yeah,
is
they all
Darcy
fight each other.
Cat Denning or whatever?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kat Dennings.
yeah, and those were the only two
One
that
broke
were
girl.
basically next to each other, with any frequency.
Yeah, jeez. So no on that
So we're
one.
gonna
Losing an
call that a
arm? No. You could metaphorically he loses his little magnet square
chain
sleeves,
link,
but
scale
that's
mail, whatever.
yeah. But that one doesn't
Odin
seem to really
loses the
count.
eye, but that's kind of it.
Old
But that's
dwarf
in a-
man, his arm gets cold.
Yeah, but it's
No.
like, I've got a
calling it
burn.
no.
Yeah.
Like,
Loki's arm turns blue,
Yeah,
but then the
no.
rest of him also turns
Yeah.
blue.
Oops. So no on that one.
No.
Villain is a copy. This is the first one where the villain's not a straight copy of our hero.
Yeah,
true.
very
'Cause
different
we had-
skill set.
And they only
Not
had to
at
draw
all.
on ancient source material to make that happen.
Yeah, right. They only had to borrow from something that already existed
It was
even
written
before the
them,
comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Ironmonger was a copy, the Abomination was a copy, Whiplash was a copy, but Loki is a completely different thing, and he's thinking with his head, and Thor's not good at that stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
he's not
they're
good
very
at head
different
thinking.
things.
He's good at head shrinking with his hammer crushing down
Okay.
on it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
stopping a blue laser. Okay.
Not really.
There's a red laser.
The Bifrost is a rainbow laser, and they are trying very hard to stop that.
No. I don't think that counts. I think
That doesn't count.
think Lord Zed Laserface counts.
The closest thing is the destroyer face laser, and
But it's less about stopping the laser and more about fighting the big bad monster who happens to have a laser
Right.
on him. You
But
know, it's like different to me.
The Bifrost performs the same function as one of our main blue laser producing things.
Imagine that conversation like, okay, well, we're in ancient Norway. How do we make a laser? Bridge?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I
It's
just
just a solid laser you can walk on.
uh,
Duh.
That's actually what bridge means in the ancient Greek.
Solid laser you can walk on.
I don't know if I'd
Greek is a
count
very
it. That's
short
all
language.
I'm saying.
Very
Yeah.
short.
Yeah.
it's an acronym.
I don't know. I want to give blue laser like a tilde just because they are stopping a big laser in the sky.
I guess.
There's no denying they're stopping a giant destructive laser in the sky.
What's the what?
All right.
So at the okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I just remembered what happened.
Whoa.
Good talk with your.
I couldn't remember what the Bifrost was shooting at, and then I remembered it was the ice
Jotunheim.
giants. Yeah.
Yep. And destroying the entirety of that realm.
That part was a little vague, though. It was a little weird to tell
I
what was
mean,
going
they
on.
talked about it earlier on, but it was like a super, super quick 5-second reference of I can't
Yeah.
leave this on or it will rip the planet apart, basically.
Maybe that was like it was edited weird and like I was losing track of it. But
Heimdall
Loki,
literally just said those like 5 words about it, and you were just supposed to remember.
It was
Loki
one
like
line,
turned on
yeah.
the Bifrost, aimed at Jotunheim,
and just
and left it on, and apparently that's bad.
It starts to pull
right.
chunks off or something.
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
Yeah, call it the big blue
really.
laser.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's right. That's
All right.
accurate.
And then it starts spinning out of control, and then they're like, "Well, we
Well, he
can't let
locks
them
it
all
into
die
on
because we want to
position.
try to make peace later. So let's
Yeah.
break the Bifrost," and they did it.
Because there's
So
some,
that's like a world-destroying laser.
yeah.
That's in the spirit of the giant blue laser.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
fine.
yeah.
I give that
would it help if
75%
we acknowledge
credit.
the fact that
A
when
tilde
Loki
plus.
freezes it, the containment of the lightning from the Bifrost sword is blue? Does that help?
I call this a yes.
I'm not
Fine.
so
Just a
hung
flat
up
yes,
on the
not even
actual
tilde?
color of the laser.
The fact
I'm
that
just
it's
hung
a
up
big
on
laser.
the spirit of like
Alright.
what the
Right.
blue laser
Alright.
represents,
Right.
which is like a world destructive force that needs
Yeah.
to be stopped.
So, all right.
and
it's,
it's,
a way
straight,
of
and it's
raising
a straight
the stakes
line.
in a lazy way.
The next one is
laser way.
Whoa! Wacky waving elbows, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you.
the next one is one that's going to need some clarification. From here on out, I feel like we have to take this next one from the scope of the movie itself. And the next one is the bad guy lives. And while we know from the virtue of the fact that several more appearances from him happen, this movie makes it very unclear, although it hints strongly that he's alive. You watch him go, oh, and fade into a...
It says
He's
very
there.
clearly that he's alive.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
the
the
Stinger,
Stinger. Never
yeah.
mind.
He's
He's
controlling
alive.
Still alive.
Skarsgård.
He's
Yep.
alive AF.
Sklarp.
Sklarp.
The Stellan Skarsgård
Speak
brothers.
Norse.
Slop slop.
Did you wave your hair in the right direction? Oh, okay. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Oh, gross. I'm so sorry, Ben. Oh, no.
It's in my eye.
So, yeah,
It's
my
just my
bad. Yeah,
sweat.
he totally
Don't
survives
worry.
when you see him in the end. I forgot about the
Yeah.
stinger. which is amazing because we waited like 80,000 more minutes to see that.
Yeah, I thought you were going to argue that the Ice King was sort of also a bad guy and he gets killed by Loki.
He was just as manipulated as Thor, though.
Oh, I agree, and that was why I was ready to argue with you.
Because Loki manipulates Thor into attacking the Frost Giants to agitate them and kick off a new war, so that he can trick them into attacking Asgard, so he can kill them himself. Like,
and be the hero.
No,
they are arguably the biggest victims of the whole thing.
I don't disagree. That's why I was ready to argue with you. I just didn't see what else you were.
That is something they did a great
Loki
job.
Definitely lived.
That is something they did a great job of from the mythology, is leaving that ambiguity. Like, wait, the Frost Giants really didn't do anything.
They were.
They just keep getting genocided by the good guys
when they attack
because we called them the good guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
when they attack Tonesbear,
frosty. And
they attack
Tonesbear.
Tonesbear is apparently the pronunciation. The G is like really soft and almost silent.
Yeah.
Tonesbear.
Who's this? Is this Rapier dude?
Yeah, no. Tonesbear is the town in Norway.
Oh.
Fandral is the haha avast.
Well, it sounds like a
Ren Fair. Yeah, Carrie Ellis.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Errol Flynn, that guy. But no, when they attack Norway, I guess that is about the only time they are openly antagonistic.
Yeah,
and they clearly did a bad thing. Odin and Asgard show up and kick their ass, steal the Casket of Winters, steal a baby, and then leave. And then any other time you see the Frost Giants, they were tricked into doing something, or they were attacked by someone who was being tricked into doing something.
Right.
Or Thor, who knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
And loves to murder Frost Giants.
Right. Well, he was tricked into aggression.
Being an asshole.
Like we said, it would be like if America wiped out the entire Middle East.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that was essentially, that was a great, like...
it's not great.
Well, no, I mean...
that was great.
It was a great analogy that you made during the movie. That's essentially
I know what you meant.
as,
I didn't mean it like
you know, 9/11 happens and we respond by literally just nuking Afghanistan.
Which may not be the best policy.
Probably not. There's probably ways around that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think they did a good job of...
Oh, I did want to point out one thing.
Yeah.
You know when Odin is like yelling at Thor and he goes, nah, nah, nah. They actually made a whole song out of that and put it in the end credits. It's the same thing, yeah.
Learning to walk again. Like, yeah.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah, right? It was just Photograph. It was a softer, cleaner version of Photograph. Oh, my God. I don't know who sang that song. I didn't look at it.
It's Foo Fighters.
Is really?
Yeah.
It's going to be the worst song they've ever done.
No, it wasn't that bad. One, I think the sound was garbage. And two, I think it was really out of place for where they put it. And three...
What a weird-ass credits
He's always had that voice. It's just we're usually okay with it because the context is different.
Yeah.
Sequel hook. Pretty clear one.
Yeah.
Stinger.
Yeah.
Like,
hardcore.
not just to the same extent as, like, Iron Man 2 shows us Mjölnir. That's not a sequel hook. That's a separate thing. This one, though, is Stellan Skarsgård being shown the Tesseract.
And then Loki controlling him.
Being like, that's hey.
That's a straight-up sequel hook. And then they had, Thor will return in the Avengers.
Right.
Yep.
Cursing.
That's pretty obvious.
I don't think there was a single, even PG level curse in this whole damn movie.
There might have been some Asgardian, like by the Throne of Odin type level curses,
but nothing that the FCC would care about. Like,
right?
Yep.
I was actually surprised.
Paying attention
pretty well
because I never pay attention to that one. I always forget that that's one of the things.
I was trying to. I wasn't paying a ton of attention, but they used anytime they were in Asgard, it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
All right. But granted, that doesn't guarantee anything. In the Avengers, we got to keep an eye out for Mjölnir Quim. Is a fun one.
Do they? I'm trying to. So when they're taking all of her stuff, what's her name?
Dr. Jane Foster. She's a doctor.
Natalie Portman. When they're
Dr. Portman.
When they're taking all of her stuff, she doesn't call them like an asshole or anything when they're taking her stuff.
Hey, you meanies!
I don't think she does.
Yeah, it very well could be. I'm just like, that's the only point in the movie that I was like, oh, maybe they said something there.
Yeah, that could be, but I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
There were like
we
a
know
couple
you already
times
will.
when she yells and stuff that I could see her swearing in that moment.
Yeah, like they're driving off. Assholes.
She just says "fark."
Yeah.
You fart.
So we've got Natalie so we have Dr. Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, not to be confused with Natalie Rushman, who's actually Natasha Romanoff, played by Scarlett Johansson, not to be confused with Scarlet Witch, who's played by
Jane Goodall.
Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, her too.
In this movie.
The monkey lady.
The monkey lady.
Yeah.
Everyone loves her.
Okay.
I love monkeys.
We need to get into...
Who doesn't?
We need to get into...
The people whose faces get eaten by chimps. But other than that...
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Those are bad monkeys.
Bad monkeys.
This movie... It's kind of amazing how much this movie feels cheaper than it did back in 2011.
It looks cheaper than Hulk.
It does.
It looks
the
bad.
effects here are worse than in Hulk.
Yeah.
The only effects that looked better were anytime they used the Bifrost. Bifrost.
Yeah, the whole Bifrost
area
looked
really
good.
Bifrost looked good.
I remember even in theaters because they do a real cool thing at one point. They show them getting sucked up through the Bifrost and then cut to black and then and like it's this really nice like
powerful moment.
Yeah, it's a good way to tell just how
job.
intense the Lucy Liu did great. It's this great intensity
What
that
is
comes
a
with
TD?
that.
I thought it was technical director,
yeah.
but it might be something else.
I think it was technical director, yeah. But like any of the practical effects looked pretty bad. Some of the CGI also was really telling.
Yeah.
The Destroyer looked a little...
The
out of
Destroyer
place.
was
mostly pretty
okay, I
good.
thought, yeah.
There have been far more egregious things than him.
The Destroyer was okay, and that was one of the less offensive CG effects in the movie.
Yep,
so
yep.
Yeah, like the Destroyer was fine.
Yeah.
For me, it was the costumes.
Yeah.
The ice dudes looked awful.
Yeah.
The Asgardian costumes look super garish, and like you got them
Plastic.
from like Spencer Gifts.
The ice dagger effects they kept doing for the
Those
ice
are
giants
bad.
looked really bad.
Those
They're
were
great.
so bad. It looked like
Have you ever
a
even
Resident
seen
Evil
an ice
game.
dagger?
No, it looked like a Resident Evil. It looked like at the beginning of Resident Evil 7 in the opening, like kind of you turn on the game and they do this little like cinematic thing before you can actually start the game. They show like blood or mold pooling up on the dirt, and it's really bad effect there too, and it looks like that but even worse. Like it's like way too shiny, plasticky. It looked it looks on par with Chaos from Sonic Adventure.
Hey, that looks great. So this movie's based on Resident Evil 7?
Yeah.
That seems right.
I want to point something out. On the back of the Blu-ray.
Oh, we gotta show the cover of the disc too, because I think that's fucking
Oh
hilarious.
yeah, all of the Blu-rays. See that great disc art? It's blue.
Thor.
Oh, what are you watching? Thor.
That's
it's
what the
blue.
rays. That's what the rays are. But on the back, on the back of the
I just think
Blu-ray,
that's
at the very
hilarious.
top, it says, "From the studio that brought you Iron Man," not the studio that brought you Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Which means they knew
They're
going into
still
this
riding on the coattails
of the first Iron Man. So that begs the question of where we put this movie in contrast with the three we've seen so far. Now, have you seen Iron Man and Iron Man 2?
I've seen Iron Man.
You have not seen Iron Man 2?
I've not seen Iron Man 2, but I've heard bad things.
It's
Bad
basically
things is unfair
Iron
too, I
Man
think.
1 done again.
Yeah.
Who's the
it's
bad guy
boring.
in it?
Justin Hammer / Anton Vanko, Whiplash. He makes an Iron Man suit that uses whips.
Okay.
Yep,
I think I've got my order so far.
Okay. So prior to this, I should mention, me, Sarah, Ben, we have all universally agreed so far that the three movies we've seen so far go Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk.
I agree with that, and I haven't even seen Iron Man 2.
Okay. So, Ben, where would you place...
I think the order now is Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Hulk.
Okay.
Iron Man 2 is a little boring because it's a kind of a rehash of Iron Man, but it does much better technically than Thor did. I think it just is better put together.
Yeah.
What Ben said.
I can't say because I haven't seen Iron Man 2 yet, and I'm also a big Norse mythology nerd, right? So I might have like a little bit of a soft spot for this, even if it's not perfect.
Okay.
But I haven't seen Iron Man 2 yet. I
So at least
imagine I'll
with
feel
Iron Man
pretty
and
meh
Hulk,
about
then.
it. It's definitely between Iron Man and Hulk.
Okay.
I mean, Iron Man's still a better movie.
That seems to be the easiest part here, saying Iron Man is the best of the four.
Iron Man's
Hulk
really
is the worst
great.
of the four.
Chris Hemsworth, especially now, can't really carry a whole movie by himself. I mean, really, I still think of Anthony Hopkins as the star of this movie, and
in a lot of
Loki
Odin
was
does
way
not
better.
have a lot of screen time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he's got the biggest gravitas.
He's not a good
biggest
leading
question
man.
here is where you
in this
Hemsworth,
movie.
yeah.
The biggest question is how
Tom
you grade
Hiddleston, though, was good.
Iron Man 2 and Thor against each other, because in a lot of ways they have the same kinds of problems in terms of the story, in terms of the acting, in terms of kind of the interest that the movie garners. It's the same kind of like stuff's happening.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle is in Iron Man 2, so
That's
therefore
and he's not in Thor.
2 is better.
That's true. This ain't no Hotel Asgard. No, I mean, I think I have to agree. Iron Man 2 is very boring, mostly by virtue of it being a retread. Thor is very boring and doesn't have an excuse for being as boring as it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Iron Man 2 had stuff going for it, and while there wasn't a ton of purpose really driving it, it still, you know, there were things that happened. None of the technical aspects of that movie really seemed all that bad to me. I can't think of
still looked
Iron Man 2. It looked
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, nothing took me out of the movie when I was watching it because of something they did wrong technically. This movie had like all the crazy Dutch angles, the costumes were bad, the CG was
the cinematography
bad.
in this movie may be the worst of the entire franchise.
Yeah, like watching this, like there was just like distraction after distraction of like, what the fuck is that? What's wrong with that? Why is this way? And
here's a shot
this
where
feels like the
Stellan
old guard of superhero
Skarsgård
movies.
is in like the top teeny corner. Like you've got, you know, your frame, and here's Stellan Skarsgård up in this little corner, so you can make sure the floor and Coulson's boot are like taking up 90% of the screen.
It's
like,
just bizarre. Yeah,
it's weird. It's about 20 times more intense of a cinematography choice than it ever needed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would agree. Iron Man 2, Thor, The Incredible Hulk.
Well, there you have it.
Still in agreement then.
No dissenting opinion on the order yet.
The other big question here is villains. So far, we've all pretty much agreed Obadiah Stane, best villain that we've seen so far out of the 3 previous movies.
Yeah.
Followed by, I think we then put Anton Vanko in second, and then the Abomination.
So same order as before. Iron Man.
Same order as before.
Where does definitely think Loki's better than
I want to
Obadiah
say
Stane.
Loki's the best villain so far, and I don't know if that's on the merits of this movie alone or where I know he ends up, because it's kind of
Loki becomes such a good villain.
We're gonna grade that separately. We're gonna grade other Loki.
Yeah, I still think that he's the best villain so far because he actually has some depth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So far,
there's
no
a
one else
couple
has had
different
that.
He has a
plans.
more interesting relationship
You think
with
you
the
know
main
the
character.
first twist, and then there's like the second and the third twist.
Yeah.
You know,
and
what do they say? You can't have a good villain if you can't relate to him a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
because then you're not invested. If you understand the villain, now you're hooked because you're like, is this worth what he's, you know?
That's why they keep letting me back on the D-pad.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like you said, though,
You're our
everything's a
villain.
twist. He tricks Thor into attacking the Frost Giants so that he can trick Odin into banishing Thor, so that he can trick Thor into not coming back, so he can trick the Frost Giants into attacking Asgard so he can kill them.
So
Just like
Odin
Odin
will
didn't
love
want.
him.
Right,
so
right,
that Dad will love him. Yeah.
Right.
Dad, who he freaked out so much that he put him in a coma, will wake up and be proud of his son.
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks for genociding while I was gone.
yeah, right?
Well,
that's
that's
where the
a
no
pretty
comes from. It's like,
fucked
I could have done it. And he's like, nah,
No.
man.
Yeah. that's
Everything
not what
else was mildly forgivable. That last one, no.
I mean,
No, but it's just like
to be
even
fair,
just like
that family.
Yeah.
but it's like his like the
That's the thing, it's a
plot
shame.
around
It's
Loki
old
and
shame
what
for
he-
him at that point.
The plot around Loki and what he tried to do, like that is interesting. Like
Yeah.
he's got like he's moving the plot along, and he's not just like bad guy.
He's actually the only thing that moves.
right, exactly.
Yeah. Everybody
But, like,
else is just kind of
the
like,
only plot.
But him as a character is deep and relatable and like has layers and isn't just one dimensional. So like, yeah, I think he's the best villain so far.
And
So-
the acting for him was pretty good consistently.
Yes.
There were no real moments with him where I was like, ooh.
I would say Jeff Bridges was also a really solid actor for his character.
yeah,
But his character
Yeah.
is just kind of overtly villainous without a lot of like depth or
Extremely
tendencies.
one-dimensional.
He just, the whole time you see him in the movie, he is actively plotting to kill Tony Stark.
He's not Tony's estranged adopted brother from war pillaging.
He's
from
sort of a
his dad.
stepdad in a lot of ways, but like he
Sort
just wants
of.
the company.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
A flat.
At
It's
no
more
point,
traditional,
at
yeah.
no point do you go like, oh, Obadiah, he has a point. Like I get why.
Yeah.
he
No,
was
he's just
kinda-
like,
You
Mine,
understand his
mine, money,
motivation, but
mine.
you're like, you're just being too greedy.
Yeah, just like, oh, you're just an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, we understand him just fine,
So-
but not
so-
a lot of sympathetic.
So Loki, Obadiah, Vanko, Blonsky. That seems to be where we're
Seems
landing
reasonable.
right now. All right, seems pretty good. Any last thoughts we have on this movie?
excited to see
What's
Thor
the next
2?
movie?
Well, the next one up is going to be Captain America: The First Avenger.
This will be fun.
Actually, I like that movie. I think
I did not. I think that's gonna be the point where we start to diverge a little bit.
Could be. I mean, we're now getting to an. The first 4 movies is not enough for there to be.
It's a movie where not a lot really like. Not that not a lot happens, but like. A lot is happening off screen, and you're informed of action.
It's been a long time. I don't remember much from it, so I could watch again.
I
just liked
the way they did stuff where it was like he's super popular back in the Americas,
and
then he came out to
Mama Bear, Baby Bear.
the troops, and they were like, "What is this bullshit?"
Yeah, there was like, "What a." Oh my god! But so
I thought they did some nice stuff.
When I saw Captain America in theaters, I saw it with people who fucking love Captain America, so that could have rubbed off on me.
Not with snarky bitches trying to make fun of it for the internet.
Right? Yeah.
I wonder if that's a better movie going experience.
I don't know. I really like being pessimistic though.
It's true. It's it's our jam.
Yeah.
It's this is the first.
As far as Thor though, final thoughts on Thor.
This was the best way to spend the weekend following the 4th of July to watch the only only superpowered Avenger that's not from the U.S.
I will say that I'm glad
Most
to rewatch.
of them from New York, actually.
I was happy to rewatch Thor.
Yeah,
because I saw all of these problems with it that I didn't see the first time around.
Yeah,
cool.
And seeing it again through a bit more of a technical eyes, just like, yep, that movie's a mess.
So yeah, so final words. Watch all your favorite movies a second time so you can learn to hate them, and try our new snack, Thorios.
we did miss one real quick thing, and I think we can blaze through this, and then that'll be it. One at a time, who would you recommend this movie to?
Oh, right. I don't know. I hate this question.
This is really tough because I want to say to the ladies, but there are not a lot of scenes with the shirtless Chrissy H.
Like, realistically, though, if there was like a female lingerie model, there'd be lots of scenes.
Good old Chrissy Hemmer.
Like,
yeah.
It's like there's the single scene. That's all. And like there even is a mud wrestling sequence, and he keeps his shirt on. Like there's no ripping. There's no. It just seems silly.
So kind of
first the Holocaust and now this. I don't know.
Again, I would only really recommend this movie to people that are already invested into not just Marvel Comics but the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Man,
that's got to be a rough time being 2 movies in, and then the next 2 movies, the only recommendation is, look, man, you're invested now. These next 2 movies kind of suck, but you're in now.
They're still, remember, also in 2011...
Yeah. It's worlds above Spider-Man 3.
Comparing them back.
It's still among the better superhero movies available to us at that time.
Superhero
best version of Thor we had at the time, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We didn't have the selection of superhero movies.
That's the thing. I definitely think the comparing to the current movies is a little rough on them.
But we should not be too gentle because we had Dark Knight, which is not a perfect movie, but it is the best movie.
It is unfair to compare anything in the world of comic book movies to The Dark Knight.
I don't think that's true. I think that needs to be at least some kind of reference stick because it was out. All of these movies benefited from having seen Dark Knight before being built.
Sure, with the exception of Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, yes. Those came out the same year.
Oh, okay. Well,
like the same summer, even.
Yeah. Then this should have been even better.
Right, yeah.
I mean, but you're not making a gritty, realistic Norse god movie.
No, you're right. I'm just saying that, like,
I think
it's not like there were no good superhero movies until Avengers came out.
Of course,
like,
no.
That's not at all true.
The Nolan trilogy, even The Dark Knight Rises, which I kind of hate, is still a very good movie.
Yeah,
I got my own reasons for not really liking how it came out, but it's hard to deny how good the movie is.
No,
but you also had Spider-Man 1 and 2. You had X-Men. And X-Men 2. You had Fantastic Four. For all its silliness, still works really well as a movie.
It wasn't bad.
Some people love Blade and Blade 2 as well. Like,
it's a good point to make that, like, you have, like, what Batman did to show that you can have gritty, kind of realistic comic book movies and succeed. And it felt like with Iron Man, they were kind of doing that. Well, it was still a little, silly and fun sometimes.
It was as realistic as you could.
Grounded.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
then
Thor
this
could have used
movie
a little more.
Was just like, we don't
space
need to,
and shit.
I don't think there was any way.
I think they could have used a little more.
There was no way to
maybe
make
Thor's
this
a
one
bad
more
background to make. Yeah, maybe this isn't the movie.
That's a really good point. It's not grounded.
Bit. Like the costumes and everything just look too weird. And I think
sort of like light everything a little less, make your colors a little darker.
That's all.
A little less plastic would have been great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got a little bit more practice out with the later Thor movies and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, they definitely find their footing later on.
Yeah,
Ragnarok was a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I was saying. Is I think part of it's we're comparing it now, and it suffers for it.
So, any other final words before we go to bed thinking about
who
Chrissy
would you
H?
recommend this movie to?
Myself. Because I was interested in the Norse mythology side of it.
Only people that are interested in Norse mythology and comic books.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know if I would recommend this movie to anyone. It's such a soft movie. There's no like really strong thing that it leaves you with where you're like,
and that's why
big Anthony Hopkins fan.
If you are for Iron Man, if you are an action fan or a fan of the more action-y comic book movies, that's an easy recommendation because it hits a lot of those buttons. It's not as intense with the action, but it works.
That's why I would say. That's why I say only recommend it to people that are invested into the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it is part of the overarching plot of the whole thing.
Right. It's the first introduction of Thor.
Yeah, if you don't care about that and you just want to see like good comic book movies, then there's no reason to see this. But if you want to get the whole like where every movie is connected, then you kind of have to see it.
The LGBTQ community would really like this because of all the rainbows.
I would argue that you can really kind of skip Thor and Thor 2 if you only care about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because otherwise it's like Thor, he exists, Loki's kind of a dick.
Also, the bigger problem is Thor is least interesting in his own movies, it seems.
Yeah, it's the same problem the Hulk had.
Yeah.
He was a really not great character to front his own movie. Yep. Ragnarok changed that for Thor because they were like, what if we twist the entire genre upside down? But with this one, I mean...
But I think he might be able to do it now if the writing was good enough. But I think especially then, it was just like...
It's kind of like...
They didn't know what they were doing with Thor yet.
If you're into space fantasy, which is a really small genre, but it's kind of like... I would say that in a lot of ways, Star Wars is a space fantasy.
I would agree.
I would say if you
less about the sci-fi.
Yeah.
At least when it started, the original trilogy.
If you are into Star Wars, if you're into... Honestly, and I know that this is not a large group, but if you at least vaguely enjoyed the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, you might actually find something to enjoy in this in its like style. The style actually
like
harsh criticism there from Rick here at the deep end.
Wow. I ranked it the second worst that we've seen so far. It's probably going to stay there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably about it. Any closing thoughts before we? Sarah's in another world now.
Yes. No, I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch it again. Probably.
That's understandable.
You know, it does leave me wanting to see where Loki goes, even though
try to go back in
Loki
time
goes.
and see this movie in theaters when it first came out.
That would
you'll
be
have
great.
a different perspective.
Do that.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
All right, and we're the Deep Head. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time for Captain America: The First Avenger, and that's the one where I think we're gonna go different ways. It's so boring.
I don't remember much from it. I remember
it's just not a lot's happening. It's a war movie, but it's like done in the. It's like a film strip movie. I don't know.